let's look at the deflation lie. Why the mainstream media hates you and basically wants you poor. Right off the bat, they think that you're dumb enough to believe them. Now I want to point this out. This doesn't just apply to the mainstream media. Keep in mind, you'll from time to time probably see Zero Hedge talk about deflation. Zero Hedge is full of it. Same thing with Mish. He talks about deflation. Again, he's full of it. There is no deflation, as you're about to see in a couple of charts. So let's ask, what are the basic items that people need? Okay? And if we can uncover what those basic items people need, we can look at the price of those basic items. We're not talking about whether people need a computer. There are people that can survive without a computer, right? But we're talking about things like food. We're talking about things like healthcare. We're talking about things like housing. We're talking about things like water. We're talking about things like energy. Energy is probably one of the few, mainly because of oil prices, that has fallen. There might be deflation in energy. Can't necessarily say that about electricity, and we'll see. We're not going to see in the long run deflation with water, okay? But that is one of those things where currently the price may be fairly stable. But looking at these items that people have to have, are the prices dropping? I mean, deflation would mean that we have falling prices. I mean, even Mish covers this all the time. This is more falling prices. Where? Okay, so let's look at some charts. And this is from the Federal Reserve itself, their FRED database. This right here is the consumer price for all urban consumers medical care since 2000. By the way, if you go back further, it's even more interesting graph. Does that look to you like it's getting cheaper? You can even see in 1982 it was 100. I don't know about y'all, but what that means is since 1982, healthcare costs have 4.4 times. Ouch. Looks to me like it's getting more expensive. I would say in the last 15 years that's not getting cheaper at all. Now the good news, if you want to be the future billionaire of the world, figure out where people are spending most of their money on healthcare and try to, create falling prices. But what we see is this line is not going down. As I've said before, this is indicative of a wage shortage as well. I'm not a wage shortage, a labor shortage in medical care, or like doctors and nurses. This right here is the consumer price index for food. I look at that recession, by the way, and that's major recession here. That is what they call the Great Recession, because Americans can't work hard anymore. They have to give up. But anyway, they call it the Great Recession. I see food prices going up during that. I don't see deflation at all. Well, now, it's remember, this is important. We've changed how the Federal Reserve measures inflation, right? So we no longer look at all these factors. We actually cleverly leave out food and energy so that we can claim that there's low inflation when in reality they're taking more money from you. And again, we look at in 1982-84, we have an index of 100. Hardly what I would say is something getting cheaper, right? We all know people don't need food. Nobody eats anymore, right? Especially as fat as Americans are. Here's the Housing Affordability Index. Now, if you want to know what that is, it basically measures the income relative to the, I think it's the median priced house, okay? But I could be wrong. So basically it's like median income versus median priced house. So the Housing Affordability Index, as you can see, starting in 2000 was 130-ish, but now it's close to 180. And you're getting poorer, not richer. In fact, I would say that this is actually a really good thing when home prices declined. It's a very good thing, right? But look at, they just exploded. And by the way, notice again, they exploded during this. I mean, there is no reason why it went up this high during the Great Recession, like in that short of time. This is just an asset bubble is what this is. But I mean, like, this is not cheaper housing, right? This is more expensive for you. You're getting poor. Yet again, the media, and this is why I'm saying they hate you, right? They absolutely hate you. Because they're writing about deflation. They're adding insult to energy, to absolute insult to injury, I'm sorry. the thing is like, they're basically insulting you by saying, yeah, everything is getting cheaper for you when things are getting more expensive. So it's like they're either the dumbest people on the planet, which is always a possibility. I mean, they are journalists. They didn't go in any math class. Or they're just liars. Like, nobody looks at these charts and says, oh, everything's getting cheaper. The same thing with these dumb bloggers like Mish and Zero Hedge. Like, where are things getting cheaper? Well, we're building robots, but nobody needs robots, except for maybe companies. It's not deflationary, okay? Here's another one that I think is really funny. Now, this one combines a couple of things here. So Paul Krugman is whining and griping and complaining about the Republicans because the Republicans basically need the ideal victim of the, Affordability Healthcare Act. And the problem is the only thing that Republicans have on their side is, according to him, not healthy, well-paid guys in their 20s. So in other words, well-paid guys in their 20s, who's that? Go ahead and look again at the Federal Reserve data. Who are these well-paid men in their 20s? He's thinking about a different generation. Young men in their 20s make less money than young women in their 20s. Millennial men make less money than millennial women. They get paid 6% less. I am the only researcher who has accurate data on this because everybody else is surrounded by their ideology. But if you actually study, you will observe that young women are more educated than young men, and young women make more money overall than young men do. They just do. Period. The days of men making more money than women are definitely dead with the millennial generation, and I expect that to continue. If young men make more money than women, more than likely it is because they're doing several jobs. But for instance, my male friends who are nurses make much less money than my female friends who are nurses. Okay, it's the reality that's here and it's going to stay, period. I find this one interesting too because this combines not only someone lying to your face by claiming millionaires are paying higher rates, as if these young 20-year-olds are millionaires. They're not. Again, look at the data. The median wealth for young people under 35 is $10,000. That's hardly a millionaire, unless Paul Krugman can't do math, in which case that's completely different. But if we flip the script and we said young women should pay higher rates because they go to the doctor more, they actually should. Anyway, that would be considered sexism, even though actually it's just basic economics and it's supply and demand. Okay, and we could even further go into, let's say, auto insurance. Young men pay higher auto insurance premiums than women do. Okay, so then let's charge women more to offset the cost for men. You won't get anyone to favor that law, right? Why? Because that's considered sexism. So then how is Paul Krugman able to write this? And this is not flamed for being overtly sexist. I mean, it's kind of like you can demonize young men in their 20s. I was talking to a bunch of bankers one time, and they had observed that the young men who actually were doing well financially were actually moving overseas. A lot of them were. And some of them were even turning in their citizenship, or at least claimed that that's what they wanted to do in the long run when they earned citizenship in another country. And I was like, well, do you blame them? And a lot of these young men are going to Asia. Why? Well, because China is a patriarchal country, and if you're a man, I mean, China will hate you because they're xenophobic if you're a man, or if you're an American, I should say, but at least they'll like you more because you're a man. I mean, they understand that if you treat men bad, who are you going to send to war? They get it. Plus, men are their retirement plan. A lot of people don't understand that in America, but young men in China are the retirement plan of parents. So they see their young men as 401ks, just kind of like we see our 401ks as 401ks. But anyway, that Americans don't understand Chinese culture. So if you leave out items in the CPI by claiming that they're volatile, it's basically disingenuous, right? Well, you know, energy goes up and down. Oh no, but that still means that people are affected by it. Same thing with home prices or food, right? And even when you look at their data, you see that they're lying to you. Which ironic again is people like Mish and Zero Hedge are taking anything that the Fed is saying seriously. They're lying. There is no deflation. Again, who goes without food, housing, or healthcare? Who are these people? I would love to know. Again, journalists are either lying or ignorant here. Stop reading, watching, or listening to anyone who cries deflation. It doesn't exist. It doesn't. There is no deflation. You are much poorer than you were in 2000. And ironically, they're trying to convince you everything is getting cheaper and the dollar is getting stronger. Really, if the dollar was getting stronger, your food would be cheaper. Again, morons, this is not the image of something that is getting stronger. This is the image of a dollar that is getting weaker. Same thing with this. Same thing with this. That's not a stronger dollar. That's a weaker dollar. For those of you, and again, this is your data, Fed. Gosh, how dumb do these people have to be? Anyway, and then of course, if you're a young man, I mean, they clearly hate you anyway. I've observed this last year. There was something that, what was it, some magazine published where they accused men of, these young men of something. It was like rape, I think. And they didn't even interview them. I mean, they didn't even give them a chance to... That is the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. Wait, you didn't actually interview the other side? You didn't at least get their story? No, they just were like, oh, well, they raped somebody. And then it turned out that, I think it was cops recently admitted that there was no evidence that this actually occurred. Wait. There was no evidence, and you didn't interview these people? You didn't at least get their side of the story? It's like a repeat of Brian Banks, except at least they asked Brian Banks, probably still lied against him, but I mean, like, really? Since when is this allowed? It's crazy, right? Healthcare should be cheaper for young men. They're actually very good on the healthcare end for our society. No, they're not. Yes, they are, because they visit the doctor less. We already have a labor shortage with doctors, right? If they visit the doctor less, that leaves doctors with more time to attend to the people who actually need health care. And we should be thankful. Because the problem is if you reward if you punish good behavior, what's going to happen is you're going to get less good behavior. So there's going to be unintended consequences that step in when you start doing things like Paul Krugman is advising, which is, yeah, let's punish people who are actually cheaper for society. Again, young men not going to the doctor is a good thing, because young men don't need as much medical care as young women do. Okay? And what that leaves is those doctors with time to attend to the people who actually need it. If you've ever gone to the doctor and had to wait 30 minutes or 45 minutes, that's really a testament to a labor shortage. A person who's dying of a heart attack can't just wait. Right? So if young men in their 20s don't go to doctors, and you can call them lame for trying to solve it themselves, again, they're freeing up that time for other people. And I hardly consider it lame anyway. So, there is no deflation. The media are lying to you. They clearly think that you're a sucker. And if you just got to stop watching, listening, or reading these journalists. They're just, again, they're either stupid or they're lying. And I cannot look at any of the Fred data and see where they're getting this deflation from. They're making stuff up. And then they're using the media to go on and blah, 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 blah. You won't see this video on Zero Hedge. You won't see this video on Mish. You won't see this video anywhere. They're all lying to you, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. They're all lying to you. And then, if you're a young man, they're adding insult to injury. I mean, seriously, it's like, what in the heck? You could not write this stuff against young women.